So yeah, I'll just say some things real quick. We're gonna try to interweave some principles of mindfulness meditation in with jiu-jitsu. So like Elliot said, I was a purple belt, I think a purple, when I got diagnosed with cancer 7 years ago. On the 24th of this month, it'll be 7 years. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to train the way that I've wanted to train, but cancer's forced me, while I've not been able to develop as much on the mat stuff, I've taken a lot of jiu-jitsu things off the mat, and it's forced me to kind of look at jiu-jitsu in a different lens, as more of everyone talks about jiu-jitsu lifestyle, and then everything you look at is solely focused on technique and competition. Like who's got what medals and all that, which is amazing, good stuff. But it's only one small slice of jiu-jitsu. So what I've taken over the past 7 years is a lot of principles from jiu-jitsu and applied them to fighting cancer, whether it's been radiation, chemo, surgeries. I started with rectal cancer, then went to my liver 3 different times, my lungs twice, and I'm stage 4. It's in my lymph nodes now. So it's been a kind of trippy battle. Elliot's seen ups and downs. So yeah, not being on the mat, I went and I learned a bunch of meditation stuff, and I'm going to try to weave these in together a little bit. If you look at a lot of martial arts in the past, there's a strong contemplative meditation practice in almost every martial art. Jiu-jitsu, where it's at now, it's almost like we're just doing sport jiu-jitsu, and there's no kind of overarching philosophy anymore. So we're going to look at a few things just to kind of tune you in to hopefully increase the effectiveness of your time on the mat, and see how it applies kind of across the board. Who meditates? Anybody? Okay, cool. I'm in California. I'm like, there's got to be more hands. So what we'll start with, I'm just going to go through basic posture of sitting meditation, and then we'll do posture in the guard and kind of ways that they kind of interact. And we'll do a quick little 5-minute meditation now, and then go into some jiu-jitsu stuff. So trust me, it's not all sitting around with our eyes closed. We'll get to smashing some as well. But so when I learned to meditate, a lot of times I was in hospitals or in chemo centers. I learned walking meditation in ERs, and if I can learn to meditate under those situations, I think anyone can learn anywhere. You've probably heard a lot about mindfulness. A lot of people are selling tons of stuff on it now. It's kind of going through what jiu-jitsu went through probably 10 years ago, where there's some people that are really good at it and can spread a lot of good knowledge, and then there's a lot of like grappling coaches out there, that are not so great. Same thing with meditation. So we're going to look just at the basic posture of sitting meditation. When they talk about mindfulness, it's always mindfulness of something. So today we're going to do mindfulness of the breath and just following our breath. And the important thing is, just like jiu-jitsu doesn't start and stop when we put our gi on, the meditation doesn't start and stop when you hear the bell. Try to take the peace and the mental kind of space that you get into in these 5 minutes, and when you hear that bell go off, don't just jump right off and get ready to go, but try to take that same feeling into these techniques so that you're acting from a place of pure kind of learning and being open. We're trying to cultivate a little sense of wonder. I always say that the goal of meditation is kind of like, enlightenment's kind of like being a 5-year-old, where you just walk in and everything's new and fresh, and you're not tied to your judgments on it. So I've done a lot of retreat work, and my kind of meditation stuff is influenced by a lot of different people, but most, like jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of overlap. So when we're sitting, one of the main points they make is to have your knees kind of touching the ground. If you want to be super fancy and do all the lotus stuff, if you bend that way and it's comfortable, cool. But really, that's not nearly as important. It's just being comfortable where if your knees can touch the ground, let them touch the ground. Okay? Then we're going to have, just kind of like in life, we want our head, our heart, and our hips kind of in alignment. When things get out of alignment, we can kind of end up in trouble in different ways. So we want to sit with a straight posture. A lot of people talk about falling asleep in meditation or not being able to get into the Zen space. It's got very little to do with that. Our basic practice is to follow the breath. So once we get into a comfortable posture of a straight spine, if you're going to do this at home and you do find yourself fall asleep, you can stand up or you can have your back with a little bit of support. But if you start leaning on things, that's tends to when you get sleepy and really fall. So if you can stay just seated without any support, it's the best. So head above heart, heart above hips. We're going to let our arms, you can have a couple different hand positions. If you're looking kind of to get a little bit of acceptance and accepting some more advice or whatever bubbles up, you can have your hands up like you're accepting something. If you're looking to be more grounded and really root down and kind of get out of your mental space, your hands can go down on the tops of your knees or just fold it into your lap. Try to have a little space between like your tricep, and so you're not in tight, but also not that you're sitting out like you want to get cored. So a little space there, just let the air breathe in. And our goal is going to be to follow the breath from any of the points that it feels the best to you. Some people are going to notice the breath right at the tip of the nostril, some might in the back of the throat, some might feel it in the chest or lungs, belly, doesn't matter where, but we're just going to follow without any judgment. So just like in jiu-jitsu when we're training a lot of times, we're like, oh man, I'm not getting this. And that self-talk gets going, just let go of all that. We're just going to follow the breath. You don't need to change it until I tell you to kind of play with it, but we're just going to observe, okay? So basics, head, heart, hips, a little freedom in the arms. Your head positioning, again, just like the hands, if you want more, you're looking for kind of answers. Pretend you're looking at about a third-story building and you're looking up kind of at the sky. If you're trying to just get balanced and you want a level head, then have a level head and just look out more towards the horizon. If you want to be, again, more grounded and let your head tilt a little, not your neck where your whole posture falls, but you're just going to let your gaze kind of fall a little bit forward. So those are the three different kind of head positions. Up if you're looking for more inspiration, level if you're just trying to kind of zen out, and then down if you're really trying to root down. Okay? Questions about any of that? It's all really basic stuff, but once you're into, like, we're not going to do an hour, but once you're into the later minutes and hours, those little tips, like, they add up. Just like in jiu-jitsu when we're going to look at posture in the guard, all that stuff adds up as well. So what we'll do is, if you want to have your eyes open, you can have your eyes open. Eyes closed, I think, is usually pretty easier for everybody, but it's whatever you prefer. Again, key is just no judgment. Just follow along. We're just going to do a couple minutes to drop into class, and then we'll start with some jiu-jitsu. Okay? So the first thing I want you to do is, on this first in-breath through the nose, bring your shoulders up really high to your ears and kind of squeeze them in so you've got a little bit of shake to it on your in-breath. And then on your out-breath, just let it all melt and just fall. Good. Now the next in-breath, we're going to be squeezing our hands really tight. So in, squeeze the hands, out, and just release. And do the same thing with our gut, our abs. So in, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Out, just let it all melt and relax away. You don't have to do anything to your breath right now. It's just monitoring it. You see where it goes. See which point along your breath is the most comfortable to notice. Is it at the nostril? Is it deeper in the throat? Is it in the chest. And we continue to just follow this in-breath and out-breath, letting our thoughts just fade away. If thoughts come in, you can just label yourself thinking, and then let go. If you're having a hard time settling down, let your out breath be a little bit more extended than your in breath. Your thoughts are invading kind of your space, you can tell yourself in on the in-breath and out on the out-breath. Things distract you and pull you away, that's fine, that's natural. Your goal is just to acknowledge that and then come right back to following your breath. In on the inhale, out on the exhale. We're almost there. When you hear the bell, again, just remember, try to keep this space, this peace that you created as we go into technique. If you've never meditated before, you just did 5 minutes, so twice what I usually give people their first time. But check in with yourself real quick and just notice if your mindset's different, if your heart rate's different. See what's noticeable, see what's better. And let's try to bring that same energy, that same kind of stuff into the technique. So, how we started with a good posture and meditation, you should be able to sit for a really long time if you sit in this kind of style with your hands up, whatever. And we should be able to sit in guard as well, really, really strong. When I came up through the ranks, I used to get triangled all the time because my posture was just garbage. And I wanted to learn every single triangle defense or every other defense instead of just learning good posture. So I think that there are principles in jiu-jitsu that if you learn, it makes things a lot easier. But unfortunately, how we teach jiu-jitsu a lot is like giving someone a dictionary and telling them to learn a language. It's like, oh, if you just learn everything in here, you'll know how to speak the language, instead of teaching language as language. So, just like with mindfulness, how it's teaching us to drop back and looking at something as simple as our breath, we're going to drop in and look at something as simple as our posture, which often doesn't get taught, but we're there everywhere in jiu-jitsu. Okay? So, one of the things I got to give credit to a friend of mine, Ryan Hall, that taught me a lot of this stuff. Ryan's doing really well in the UFC right now. He's one of the smartest guys in jiu-jitsu I know. And if you ever get a class with him, it may be just like one little sentence or something that he says that totally just blows your mind. And he completely fixed a lot of my posture with just this one simple lesson. So I'll just kind of pass it on to you guys. Ryan teaches with a lot of examples and analogies, and I'll kind of do the same. One thing is that when we're sitting in guard, a lot of times we're sitting with our hips where they're kind of, like my hips are messed up, so they're always tilted forward, but a lot of times we're sitting forward. We're predators where our eyes are in front of us, and when we attack animals, it's kind of to pounce on them. Right? So we're kind of naturally built to fall like that. So when you're trying to keep good posture, that's not the best thing. So how do we fix it? Smallest, simplest thing is we're just going to take the lower part of our tailbone and we're going to curl it in to make the flat of our back strong and solid here. So instead, you can see, normally I'm sitting kind of, I'll exaggerate it, more this way. Now we want to tilt the hips in and keep the back really strong, okay? So, Elliot, if I'm in your guard, I'm going to do it the wrong way first, the bad way, where I'm just sitting, like, I don't want to say bad, it's the natural way that most people sit, but they're just chilling here. So if I put my hands up and Elliot pulls with his legs, I want to fall, right? So just go ahead, shake me whichever way. And this is one of the things that I want you guys to do once we break. But just pull me down hard both ways, whatever, right? So my hips are coming up off the mat. They're really loose. I'm not anchored down. So just as we were trying to anchor kind of down in our meditation with our breath anchoring us, we're going to try to anchor ourselves down. I roll my hips in, and now when Elliot pulls, he should almost be able to do a sit-up on me. Instead of when he was pulling me before, I was snapping down. So it's a very, very small thing, but it makes a huge difference. Do you feel a difference when I'm here versus here? Right. So again, it's very similar to our posture that we just did in meditation. Head above heart, above hips. When we start getting things out of order, we're going to get snatched down, and then it's a waste, not a waste, but it's going to be a waste of our energy to have to reestablish our posture. Keeping good posture is way, way more efficient than having to reclaim it time and time again. So we'd rather get here and stay here than have to get pulled down, fight back, down, and back. As a guard player, I want to make the guy fall down and fight back, because each time that he has to fight back up, I'm using big limbs, they've got to use small limbs, so it's in my benefit if I'm playing guard. What I want you to do first is get in your natural position without changing your hips or anything. Your partner's going to have you in guard. Put your hands just up and have your partner just break posture. And I want you to be mindful of, feel where you feel strong, feel where you feel weak. Are you leaning too forward, too back? How quick are you getting pulled down, different angles, things like that. And then we'll give everybody a minute or two of doing that, and then I want you to switch your hips in. And it's going to feel a little bit awkward at first, but trust me, it makes a huge difference, okay? So partner up, and then start with your original posture, and then I'll yell out to switch. Keep posture, let's look at some ways to break it down as well. So one of the things that makes it strong is when Elliot's in good posture, his spine's going to be straight. And when you have a straight spine, you're going to be a lot stronger than when it's bent. So if I'm fighting Elliot, is all the opposite. So a lot of people, I see break posture just by grabbing the lapels and pulling with both hands. Now if Elliot's obviously bigger and stronger, this isn't going to really do much.
So one thing that my coach advocates really a lot is to use the muscles that matter. So why use my small arms when I have big legs that I can pull with? Okay? My hands are going to come up and I'm going to try to take that straight spine, and whichever way I can, whether it's down or to the side, I'm going to tilt or bend the head so that he's not as strong. As I do that, he loses the strength in his spine and his hips are starting to turn as well, and I can keep him down. Now, this is a kind of strategy thing. I'm way smaller than Elliot, so I need him to get tired for me to attack. So every time he has to fight out of this, I snatch him right back, do it again. This is part of the struggle. It doesn't look like much, but he's wasting more energy than I am. Okay? So what I want people to do, if you can get kind of behind the head, that little like tie clinch, like the plum, that's a great spot. See how your posture changes when people start yanking out of your head to the side, down, or even twisting. Also, walk the legs up and use the legs more to break the posture, not just your hands. Okay? Once you're really good at starting to break posture, they're not going to want to stay on their knees anymore, right? So almost everybody stands up the same way. One foot, then the next, and then they're up, okay? So where in it do we have the most efficient use of our force against their stability? So again, Elliot wants good posture. He's going to keep his spine straight even as he stands. So what is the weak point? If he stands with his first foot, go ahead, and I start pulling, he's got base in here, right? He's still strong. If I let the other one come up all the way, I'm now pulling down into his feet and into the ground, right? Still not a good position for me. So, come back down. What I wanted to do is I'm going to wait for the split second that his second foot is coming up. So he stands. As this is where he's weak, so go like half speed. As he starts to stand, that's when I'm going to yank with my legs hard. Okay? You can go regular speed. So wait for this knee to come up off the mat, and you want a little bit of space. This is where it's a timing thing, and you guys will feel it with partners. But it's not when it's down, because I'm pulling into the ground. I'm pulling into the earth through his body. It's not helping. As soon as that knee comes up, I'm pulling. And that's going to bring posture back down, and Elliot, if nothing else, has to use his energy to get back up again. That's just the time for you? Just for the last drill. Okay, so it's a really easy thing to mess up, but it's also a really easy thing to master. So, first guy is going to be standing and just keep.
Yeah, I don't even want to get up.
Yeah. All right. So it doesn't look like much, just like turning your hips in the guard doesn't look like much, but you'll be in the guard a lot as you train jiu-jitsu. I've always believed your jiu-jitsu should work gi, no gi, self-defense, MMA, whatever. Your meditation should be good on the cushion, good off the cushion. Same thing. So it's like jiu-jitsu doesn't end when you walk off the mat, neither does your mindfulness. Incorporate it all. So one of the things is, Elliot's spine is straight again, right? And we know that he's strong when he's got that alignment. We also know that breathing affects how we think and how we feel and kind of what we do. So my goal is kind of to mess up Elliot's posture and his breathing. So traditional side control guys are usually like some variation of this, right? And it's not wrong. It's definitely not wrong or bad. But you're not always getting a ton of pressure or force here, okay? Where his diaphragm is, my pressure is coming to go under there. So every time Elliot breathes, I'm going to try to sink in a little bit deeper. Because that's really going to affect his cardio, his stamina, everything about it, even his thinking. You can get people to like really panic. When I put more limbs on the mat, gravity is now helping Elliot, not hurting him. I want my weight to go through him to the mat and connect to the mat, not just connect
chest to chest or hip to chest, okay? So one of the things we're gonna do is this hand's gonna come under and just scoop. We don't need to grab anything. If you want, you can, but you really don't need to. This hand, because I wanna get my knee up under his shoulder, it's gonna come to the elbow and just lift up. Now, if I'm all bent around and I have a weak spine, it's gonna be easy to get pushed. So I wanna have that good, strong spine and that good posture, okay? So as I come through, this knee is gonna tuck a little bit under the shoulder. I'm gonna squeeze from my knee to my rib through Elliot. You just hum a little.
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, just go. So you should be able to feel a difference in there, right? So if I feel my knee coming to the mat and my elbow coming to the mat, I'm getting a lot lighter. So I want to be cognizant of that. This hand is going to be pulling at the elbow and tricep. This hand will be pulling up as well. And I sit in, and that's what I want to hear. I want to hear that. And every time I hear that, I'm going to squeeze a little bit more on the exhale. Okay? Now, Elliot's not going to just sit there and want this to happen. So one of the things that we can do is just like we were breaking posture in the guard, we break his posture when he's laying here. So I can crank the head to the side with either hand. Every time I do that, it's going to take away his strength to upa me or move into me or turn. So say I'm just on my butt and my hips aren't off the mat, I can push Elliot's head, collect it with this hand, and sit up into this. 135. Okay? So let me just turn a little so everyone can see different angles. So again, we're gonna start regular side control, triceps. I'm gonna come up, and I'm looking to put my hip through his diaphragm, like right underneath, like where your ribs come together. The more that this creates a little shelf, gives me something to squeeze into. Okay? So look, elbows off the ground, knees off the ground. Now some people think, well, aren't you gonna get pushed? So if Elliot goes to upa me, this hand works like a windshield wiper. So anything pushing this way, go ahead and just push. He's not gonna toss me. Okay? If he upas forward, that's fine. This leg can come over. I advance and I come right back even deeper. So I let them almost sometimes do that upa and sit back into it. Butt off the ground. Try to get as much of you off the ground so your weight's going through them. Elliot just wanted me to touch on a few different things. There's a million places to go from here, and we won't get into the minutia of the different moves. Again, learning every single move is like trying to learn a language reading a dictionary, right? So I can teach you 1,000 moves, but then you got to learn 1,000 moves. So with this mindfulness in motion that I'm kind of trying to push is how we can look at the same principles across multiple settings. You're working big muscles against small muscles, and you have a lot of control. So what it'll look like is, as I'm trying to go for it, a lot of times, the first few years I was doing this, I felt like I'd always fall too far this way. If I was staying too far this way, I'm not getting any pressure, and he's able to move, right? So I'd almost let him throw me, and I'm gonna block with my head. As this shoulder comes up when he kind of tries to upa or push, that's perfect. He's done my job for me that this hand is doing as far as getting the knee back in under. So as we come back down, Elliot can't upa onto this side anymore. He's lost his shoulder. I own it. He doesn't. So I own that shoulder, and now I got hands being able to work for him. So if he tries to come back this way and pushes, usually they try to push your face, come back, and you got paintbrush, all that. As he starts to really want to get his arm back, because he's like, I need to be able to upa both directions, he's going to keep pushing. I let the hand come out, I catch, so I'll let you kind of bring it out, catch, and I get tight shoulders. I don't carry any muscles, so I can be flexible. Elliot's the opposite. And you can
Come over here, wrist lock. You got chokes, arm bars here, all sorts of stuff. You can even come over and do mounted crucifix stuff, get into that, triangles, all sorts of stuff. But it all comes from being able to have your hands and legs available. When we're in this kind of side control, even if we're getting good pressure, we're losing weapons. Is that?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you guys saw that. Because that's the pros to this kind of pressure, using pressure as a device to control your partner. They push back because they resist back to that pressure, and that opens things up. So it's like a catalyst for your attacks, basically.
If I'm just chilling and I have more weight on the mat than I do Elliot, why has he got to move? He doesn't. I mean, what threat am I now? It's nothing. But when I start making him breathe a little bit, and I'm here, now it's a way different game, right? Yeah. It's on you to move, and you to panic, and me to chill. So if I'm here, I'm not like, oh my god, I gotta finish. It's like, I'm cooking this guy. You'll hear Brazilians sometimes talk about eating hot soup. And it's like, you just gotta go slow, cook him. So my muscles versus his, he's gonna win every time, unless I can draw the fight out. Get those big muscles to eat all that oxygen and get tired, or my tiny ones are nice and efficient, and then I can get in and choke you. But I need him to do a lot of that work instead of me. So when I'm doing this type of side control, every which way that they move, I'm chilling. I'm good. I want Elliot to move around more, because every time he does, I'm just coming over a little bit more. Take the arm, He's coming this way. You have all those attacks, wrist locks, everything. Okay. Again, tying the mindfulness thing in. If you're in a dominant position that isn't causing your opponent to react, you're not in a dominant position. You might be on top, you might be in a scoring thing, but we don't care about just scoring advantages and points. You want to be punishing them the entire time. This is a self-defense art, so we need to be thinking in those terms and not just like, oh, well, I scored my points, I can chill. If you're a sport person, that's cool, learn to do that, but if you're inflicting damage from position and not even a submission, that's good. All right, so one thing that we're going to look at a little bit is from the mount. So we've been talking about, I can barely mount. Keeping the spine straight, right? If Elliot's spine's straight, he's got a lot more options to defend. So I want to move him a little bit. It's usually pretty easy for me to get my first hand in, and I always kind of just turn my knuckles in, trying to get that kind of grip. So I'll be here. I don't know too many people that have a problem getting that first grip. You can start low and even cinch your way through if you want. This is what gets them to turn, is to crank the leg out like that. That's another, if you can't get them, if they're all turtled up nice, can't get it in. The more I crank this and bring it up forward, you can see his face. He's gonna start to turn. And that's when I can start getting in on the neck. All right? So from mount, you guys see? I'm gonna take the foot, I hook it with my own toes, and I'm gonna bring it forward. So it's cranked at an angle. It'll make them turn. And do either side. And it's just like kicking out a kickstand. Okay? I can also come underneath the arms. When I come under and I spider walk, it's taking away more posture. I can get up higher again. So you can move around that way. And just like how we broke posture in the guard, turn again. By cranking the head, I can do that here too. Turn it to the side and move up. And you can go into your S mounts, wrist locks, arm bars, all that fun stuff. But the first thing I just want you guys to kind of get the feel of is, feel strong here, and then get your balance where you can connect feet. As I take it out, you're going to see that face. They're most likely going to turn. And as they turn, that's where you can start getting your grips. Okay, so just try the leg thing first. If we have time, we'll do the finish.
So these past 7 years have been pretty trippy for me, going through cancer and all the different stages. I'm stage 4 now. I'm not even supposed to be here. And gratitude has been one of the most powerful things. It's pretty much impossible to hold depression, anger, negative emotions, and gratitude at the same time. So I'm very grateful to all of you, to Elliot, for having me be able to teach, even though I'm not really training or rolling anymore. Every time I get to put a gi on, every time I get to tie my belt, I'm grateful. I hope that you guys can carry that every time you step on the mat, because there'll be, you know, a day that you can't train anymore. Hopefully it's when you're all 90 years old and, you know, have a collection of medals and good students and everything. But it could be when you're, you know, 30, like it happened to me. So every time that you're able to step foot on the mat, be grateful for it. When you hit those days that everything just feels like it's not firing right, you're still at jiu-jitsu. Be happy that you're here and pissed off and things aren't going right, because it's way better than not ever finding jiu-jitsu. And then breathe. Just center yourself. If this class was 100 minutes long and we thought of that as $100, and you had a 5-minute roll that was bad, you wouldn't give away the rest of your $95, right? You hold on to that. You'd say, okay, I lost 5, and I'm going to keep the rest. Sometimes when we have a bad roll, we throw out, it's not my day, today sucks, my technique's garbage, he's better, she's better, they're a higher belt, they're bigger. Let go of all those attachments, let go of all those things. Be happy that you're on the mats. Be happy that you're training. You do this because it's supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to make life better. And I can honestly tell you that I've applied more jiu-jitsu off the mats than on them. And when I trained, you know, 5-6 days a week, every day, as hard as I could. So you can use this stuff off the mat as much as you do on it. You just have to be mindful. So what I tried to do with the meditation is try to bring you into a space that you can kind of get down to the lower levels. We think that we know how we sit and walk and breathe, but when you really get into the mindfulness of it, you realize that our breath is up high, our posture is bad, we're stomping around. So be mindful of your technique. Be mindful of what you bring to the mat, what you leave from the mat. Be mindful of your partners. If you don't like the word mindful, think of it as savoring or appreciating. And just savor these moments that you get on the mat, because they won't last forever. So enjoy them while you can, and bring people to the mats too. If jiu-jitsu's changed your life at all, share it. I mean, I'd be dead without it, 100%. I'd have tapped out from any number of the surgeries I've been through, the chemo, the radiation. I've had like a half dozen staph infections, and 2 weeks in the ICU with psychosis. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks, and lost my mind for a little bit because all the drugs they gave me. And through all of it, jiu-jitsu principles helped me get through. Being efficient, monitoring knowing when to breathe, knowing when to rest, not to quit. That's a big thing with Sergio. Is you're not going to win every single fight, but you can always make sure the person that you fought know they fought you. So that's one of the things that I carry with me all the time. I like to joke that when you see pictures of the Grim Reaper and they got, the tattered up cloak and the Sith is all damaged, that's from people like me. We just don't quit. It's just another lion to kill, and you just keep going. Just like if you get tapped out, no balloons fall from the ceiling, no streamers, and touch hands, go again.